Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really exciting to talk to all of you who are much more steeped in health and wellness. And I think the value of what I'll bring today, along with some of my colleagues, are going to open up a perspective of how science is advancing and the fact that there is something out there that has a solution that actually can bring the body into age reversal. Because the patch, the X39 that you're going to hear about, is a stem cell activation patch. Has anybody here heard of this patch before? Knows anything about it? Okay, somebody.
You know, we have an expert on our team on exosomes and stem cells. So Dr. Harshfield, have you heard about these patches?
Yeah. A couple of years ago, we have our executive director for Veterans in Pain, the VIP group. It's a 501c3. Michaela has been on this call a few times.
Yes.
And she had a kind of a unfortunate lumbar tap and got some sort of meningitis, really terrible, just totally debilitating, wheelchair bound. And we were having a conference, a Zoom call about, I don't know, I hadn't talked to her in 3 or 4 or 5 months, and we were sitting there talking to them, and there was a couple of kids from Vegas that were showing me the patches and how they worked and so forth. She stands up, and they almost passed out. I didn't realize how debilitated she'd been, and she attributed it to these patches. And that's when I got interested in working with those, and I've ordered millions of them. I give them away. I have to keep ordering, give them to my patients. But if you'll talk about, I won't take up any more time because you'll know the science, but it's really interesting in that it's almost like your body gives off a certain amount of energy, heat, and infrared maybe, and it just ricochets back. That's how the patch works. It's kind of neat. But anyway, enough of that about that. Ms. Casey, go ahead.
Thank you for that. Yes, her story is phenomenal. You know, we have that on videotape, her testimonial. So I will jump in. We have a lot to cover, and I have pulled some extraordinary before and after pictures that hopefully are going to blow your mind, even at the science level. And we're going to hear from a couple of people that have been on it, and they have clients or friends or family on it. You're going to hear some remarkable results. So to begin with, I know that all of you here know what stem cells are. We know they're undifferentiated. We know they multiply and create different, can heal different tissues and organs. And I know that everybody here knows about collagen, and that it's, 80% of our skin, bones, connective tissue, all like that. And that helps us to stay younger. So just kind of hitting on that. But what I want to see is if you know about the effect of the human plasma molecule GHK-cu and how it affects stem cell actions and expressions and the genes. And that's going to be a big part of what we focus on. So just to address that right off, back in the 70s, Dr. Louis Picard came up with a brilliant discovery, and it was documented. He should have won the Nobel Prize. He found out that, based on laboratory data, that GHK activates the body to make younger stem cells, that there is an up and a down range, and I know you guys understand that, where it modulates up and down, and the activity of the GHK, which is diminishing as you get older. After 30, it's about 50% gone, and after age 60, it's down about 80% of its functionality. So this discovery was major, and with that, our CEO and inventor and founder of LifeWave figured out how to capture. He's a visionary. It took him 10 years to figure out how to capture the magic, the science of what stem cells do, and put it in an energetic patch. And the reason this is so unique is because it's the first time that anyone is using the human body as the power source. The human body is the power source for the way that this technology works. So this is what it looks like. It's wafer thin, looks like a Band-Aid. It comes in a container that looks like this. We call this a sleeve, and you get 30 of those patches in a sleeve. And how this works is that it's kind of like going out in the sun. You know, when you go in the sun, it hits you, your body goes into making vitamin D. In this patch, it's non-transdermal. There's no ingredients, no ingredients. So people say, how does it work? It has a blend of nano organic crystals that are made out of amino acids, salt, and sugar. That's it. And these are grown in the lab. They're organic. So when you put it on your skin, we all know that the body is emitting light and heat. That light and heat hit this crystalline structure, and there's a certain wavelength. And this is what took 10 years for David to figure out, that reflects back into the body, because the patch is absorbing the light and heat, and it's reflecting back this wavelength that causes a biochemical reaction in the skin and the cells. And when that happens, it immediately elevates the GHK copper peptide. Now, there's so much information. You can Google it, PubMed, everything, you know, where you can find out more about it, but it starts to reset. And this is extraordinary. Within 48 hours, over 4,000 genes. So the gene expression starts to amplify, because again, as I said before, you know, it's diminished as you're getting older. So that's why the body is not having the health and the vitality that it normally does when you're younger. So another thing that the GHK focuses in on is repairing damaged DNA. And you know how important that is. And there's many other functionalities. Wound healing is another huge one. And you'll see this in some of the pictures that I show you. So what happens is that it also signals this, you know, I said 4,000 genes. There's one gene in that 4,000 called P63, which you probably know. And that is the gene that activates the body, that signals the body to make stem cells. So you have this beautiful flow of energy, and not using, you know, any chemicals, any ingredients, anything. It's energetic. And this is what David's focus is how to use the energy of the body so the body can self-heal. We're not saying that the patches heal. We're saying that it sets up this communication pathway. That pathway signals the body. It's like flipping a light switch on. You know, it knows the light comes on because certain things are connecting. We all know that if the body gets the right communication, it can heal. But because it's blocked with, you know, drugs, toxins, all kinds of things in our environment, and even our thoughts and stress and anxiety and da-da-da-da-da. So this patch really allows the body to go into a healing mechanism. And so you wear it every day, 12 hours on during the day, because you need to drink a lot of water, because this is increasing the mitochondria, the ATP function. So when you're doing that, the body needs more water, and you'll see the patch is more effective. And also, it's very important to take a good mineral supplement, because we're electrical and the body needs minerals, and that helps the patch also be more effective. So this GHK copper peptide is being elevated. It's signaling the genes, and the genes are activating the body to make younger stem cells. So when these younger stem cells are producing, as you know, when they go on older tissue or older stem cells, it's going to regenerate. So you are in regeneration, and what's going to happen is the body will go into age reversal.
It's so interesting, because the last many weeks we've been talking about energy medicine, and the last week I talked about cellular communication, and Dr. Harshfield talks about the tuning fork idea, and it's all electrical or wave impulses that
Absolutely.
a lot of the communication. Yeah, so it's very timely, your talk.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And the fact that he was able to figure out exactly that wavelength that would activate all this is just brilliant. So we are patented. There's no one in the world that comes close to what we're doing. And, we have all kinds of doctors and health practitioners, all kinds of people using this product, recommending it to their patients. The results are so extraordinary because it supports what other, modalities are being offered, but it's putting the body into a healing mechanism that really it's not able to do by itself. And to my knowledge and what I've heard, it's just stem cells are the fountain of youth, right? And especially with inflammation, we all know how stress and inflammation, anxiety, all that really affects cardiovascular, diabetes, arthritis, osteoporosis, all kind of age-related disease, and especially brain disorders. And I'm going to show you some of that when I show you the pictures. But stem cells are like when we have testimonials every day, because we have these special podcasts, and we're hearing testimonials after testimonials on Parkinson's, MS, migraines, joint pains, knee issues, rotator cuff. I don't even know the names of some of the diseases. I'm not saying it's reversing them, but it's giving a higher quality of life to especially those people with debilitating illnesses, and pain relief, because inflammation is coming down is one of the biggest things that we see, and a deeper sleep, mental clarity, the brain fog goes away, quicker recovery in sports, similar to what Dr. Carter had experienced. And you just feel, and also your face, because you are the stem cells are helping to regenerate collagen, and that helps to regenerate the cartilage. And so that's why the joint pain and your facial, we have, the women love it especially. You'll see some pictures, but it really helps wrinkles and sagging and the texture of your skin. And it's just the endless results of what we're seeing. And so that's kind of how the science works. And the company, LifeWave, has been around for about 20 years. We're in over 81 countries. All the patches, there are 10 plus patches, different ones, but the X39 just came out 3 years ago. And it's the only one that activates the body to make younger stem cells. And the other ones have great benefit, which if I have time, I'll hit on a couple of those. But one of them helps the telomeres, which all of you are aware of, not to shorten. And you know that when telomeres shorten, your life is going to kind of be over once the telomeres are gone. So this is extraordinary, the science behind this. And David doesn't just put these out. Everything has clinicals and is proven scientifically. And we have all those studies. There is a link that I'll give you. You can write down. It's called, and you can put it in the chat. Start, START, X39.com. And there you're going to find a couple of videos, the animation of how it works. You'll hear David talk with the doctor about a 20-minute little video. There's a page to read. There are tabs that will go into the science. Not everybody does that, but you guys would probably like that. And then at the bottom are some really powerful testimonials. It's a quick overview. And yes, you have a money back guarantee with this product because it is so strong. But we have less than 1% return. So, and Dr. Carter is, you know, very up on new things. I'm just meeting Dr. Tom. And so, you know, I'm so happy to be here to share this because this is really the science of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy. The thing is, everybody can use this. Children use it that have ADD, ADHD. You know, elderly can use it. It's putting a patch on, taking it off, and there are no contraindications. The only thing that David has said is if you have an organ transplant, you don't want to use the X39 because it stimulates the immune system. On an organ transplants, you want to suppress it so that the transplant holds. Mm-hmm. And then if you're doing chemo, because it has a slight detox, you want to give it a few days after you do chemo before you use the patch again. So you take a little break. And so, okay, what would somebody expect? I can go over that really quick. And then I want to invite a couple of people on to share with you some really cool results. So this is going to affect you within the first 1 to 3 months, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because the brain mapping I'm going to show you, you'll see that it's going to help with memory, depression, anxiety, and sleep. And we do have a study, this is going to be very interesting, that shows that 6 weeks, the cardiovascular system began to act 2 months younger. So for every 6 weeks you're using the X39, the cardiovascular is euthanizing. And sometimes you don't feel the effects right away. Some people do. We have 50% statistically that feel it within the first month. And sometimes it takes longer because it could be working, you know, like on organs and tissues, which you're not really feeling right away. However, the energy, people do feel more energized, and that's usually something that happens pretty quickly. Within 3 to 6 months, these pluripotent stem cells are really going to work in replacing and repairing dysfunctional cells. So, you know, we say, David says, for every decade of life, you use 1 month of the X39 patch. It's kind of a correlation. Within 6 to 12 months, there was a study done that 14 out of 15 people lowered their biological age by an average of 8 years after 6 months. We don't call this anti-aging, we call this age reversal. Now, this actually happened to myself. When I went in, I go to a naturopath, and before COVID, I tested, I was 70, and my biological age was 60. When I went in after COVID, I was 72, and my biological age tested at 35 to 40. And he was shocked. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I only did this, So of course he was very interested. And I have other results. I had digestive issues that for 15 years, I was using enzymes 3 times a day. I think there's somebody unmuted that might be Pat, if there's noise. So anyway, using digestive enzymes, and what happened after 2 weeks, I was off all enzymes and never had a problem, no bloating, no gas anymore. It's been incredible. My gums and my teeth were having big pockets, and now they used to be 5 and 6, and my dentist was saying, "You got to have some dental work." And so I started reducing, and now they're 2 and 3. So I'm fully, I know that it's going to, regenerate. And I had a neuropathy patch on my shoulder. I don't even know why, but it was totally numb. And that came back. And we have great results with diabetics, because the neuropathy is something that absolutely reverses on the patch. And I just want to say, right here is a good place to say it, that I'm not a doctor or medical professional, and anything that I'm sharing today is purely educational and anecdotal, and nothing has been, we're not here to treat, cure, or diagnose anything. So with that, and we'll have some questions in a little while. But I'd like to bring on a couple of my guests here.
Excellent.
And the first one I'd like to bring on is Krista Doyle. And she's been on she'll tell you how long she's been on the patches. She was in human resources recruiting for 15 years. And then she went into self-employment, and she loves animals. And she's been working with dogs and horses, and she takes care of all kinds of animals. And she's written 3 children's books. So welcome, Krista. Why don't you tell everyone what was going on for you? And I know your family is going crazy on this. So give us snippets of what's happening.
Well, thank you, Beamy, for having me on today. And it has been a remarkable journey just in the last 6 months. I was introduced to the patches initially because my dog had arthritis, and I was giving him a shot for his arthritis every other week. And a friend sent me some patches. I put the patches on him, and I have not given him a shot for his arthritis since last July because he doesn't need it. I saw almost an immediate response, and he didn't know that he was wearing a patch, but I saw such a vitality in him. There was a spring in his step. He's now 10 and a half, and I would say he acts like he's about 8 years old. So that's how I was introduced to the patches. Then as I learned more, I started sharing it with my family. My mom was one of the first ones to come on board. She has neuropathy in her feet and had some shoulder and knee pain. A lot of that's been alleviated. And then she bought a sleeve for my aunt, who had just gone through some skin graft for a cancer, or a skin cancer that had been removed, and the wound was healing very slowly. So my mom bought a sleeve for my aunt. The wound has pretty much cleared up in about 4 to 6 weeks, and it was a very ugly, ugly wound. But interestingly, my aunt said that she was sleeping better. And she had not been sleeping well since my uncle passed last summer. So she was thrilled that she was getting some quality sleep as a benefit in addition to the wound healing. And then my niece has MS. She's 21, and she has also been using one of the pain patches for pain. And we have been talking to her about using the X39 for her symptoms that she's been experiencing with her MS and actually Crohn's disease as well. My sister, we're keeping it all in the family. My sister has several medical issues, and she just started on the X39 2 weeks ago, as well as her husband, who has some rheumatoid arthritis starting in his hands. So it's been just wonderful. And I've been using the patches myself since last summer. So it's just been so wonderful just to see what a wide spectrum of symptoms this can really help, and help people feel better no matter what's going on with them medically. But the big one that I wanted to share today that's been so exciting is my husband had some blood work done last June, and they told him that he had Hashimoto's disease. And so he started on the patches in September. And so he's been using the X39 and a glutathione patch, which helps the immune system, since September. And he just had blood work done again in January. And in that 4 months, his Hashimoto's marker number had gone down 22%. So we were just thrilled with that. And he, of course, he'll have blood work done again in June, in a couple of months. But the exciting thing is, for me personally, is that we go to a DO who is board certified in our state in regenerative medicine. So this is a huge opportunity for me to share with the doctor about the power that these patches have on just so many different things. But it's really special when you can see an actual lab result just in such a short period of time be decreased so dramatically just by using a simple patch every day.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Now, that was like what, 7, 8 different, completely different types of conditions. And so I want you to see the range. And this is what we hear all the time. Thank you so much, Krista. That was wonderful.
My pleasure.
Yeah. And even markers that are showing up in blood work. And this is how David tests. David does a lot of, blood tests, urine tests, and, other scientific tests. But thank you. Thank you. So our next presenters are Mary Elizabeth and Aura, and I'm going to introduce them. Mary Elizabeth has worked in an academic healthcare centers her entire career. She's a doctor of Oriental medicine in New Mexico and co-founded the Integrative Medicine Center at the University of New Mexico and practiced there for 23 years. And she's recently retired. And Aura has a master's in education, and she co-founded and directed a private elementary school in Indiana, and she is a Reiki master. So welcome, ladies. And I know you have a lot to share, and I know you're very excited too. So just give us results.
We are so excited to be here with you. Thank you, Bimi. We have so many testimonials, but we're going to kind of narrow it down to the really profound ones, people who've been very ill. And we want to share some of these testimonies. But probably the first one I'll share is, she was a friend of mine for the past 25 years, and she was diagnosed with COPD about 10 years ago. And her quality of life was failing. She was not doing very well. She was having oxygen saturations in the mid-80s and had to start on oxygen therapy. And she was spending over $500 a month on herbal therapy just to kind of keep her at bay. Mm-hmm. And so she went on oxygen therapy, about 2 liters, and did pretty well, went up into the high 80s on that. Started her on the patches. And within about 6 months, she was able to come off all of her herbs. She came off all of her oxygen therapy. Her shortness of breath on exertion resolved. So she is just doing absolutely fantastic. She's 70 years old, and within 6 months, she was doing fantastic. Wow. So she's very happy that she's not having to spend so much money on herbal therapy. She's not short of breath. She's off her oxygen therapy, and to her, this has been really just remarkably miraculous.
Where did she apply her patch?
She put her patch on the lower abdomen below the belly button, and she alternated it with the behind the neck lower neck.
Mhm.
Now, she did very well, but she was on the X39 and the Eon patch too, I have to say. So both of those she did very well with. So she's ecstatic about her life now. She's having much better quality of life. So to her, the low 90s without oxygen therapy, she's happy with that.
Mhm.
So our next testimonial is a neighbor of ours. She was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer 8 years ago. She had mets to the bone and to the liver. She's been on multiple chemotherapies, and actually was kind of at the end of the chemotherapy choices from her oncologist. So she was given 3 to 6 months to live.
And that was a year
That was a
ago.
year ago. Okay, she had recurrent kidney stones and had to go in to get frequent lithotripsy procedures. And then she would have to pass these stones. And so this lady was just miserable dealing with side effects of chemotherapy and having to pass kidney stones. So she started on the patches last year. Again, it was X39 and Eon. And within about 6 months, she stopped having kidney stones. She hadn't had a kidney stones. She hadn't had a kidney stone in 6 months. She started on patches a year ago.
Mhm.
She continued on her chemotherapy. She went back for a PET scan in October of this past year, and she did not have any tumors anywhere.
What?
She's been back for a second PET scan last month. Again, no tumors anywhere. She was in grave condition back in June when we saw her last year. And
They had a bed
she-
in their living room, and she was in that bed in the living room, completely bloated, unrecognizable. And she walked into the group that we had last weekend to share her testimony with the group.
My goodness.
And she's 62. And so, as Bimi was saying, it can take, for every decade we are old, a month just to repair. So, and her husband's so excited because he'll say at the 7th month and 23 days, he has it down. That's when they saw these huge, the clear PET scans. And
huge changes.
and
That's
then
amazing.
Mary Elizabeth's dad, who's 88 years old, tell that one. That's
Yeah,
good.
he was diagnosed with prostate cancer 27 years ago. And PSAs were ranging between 10, 30, 40, sometimes 60. So up and down all the time. And he's been on the patches for 8 months. And he went back for his appointment with his doctor, and his PSA is 0. And he is in remission of his prostate cancer.
Mm.
So he's very excited for that.
And we both had, just real quickly, we both had like old injuries, and Mary Elizabeth would acupuncture us and it would go away, but we would still be awakened at night sometimes from it. And after I'm 70, I'll be 71 in July, and she's 62. And so it took several months for my old injury to recede where it wasn't waking me up. And all of a sudden, we've been on the patches for over a year, no more pain. There is absolutely no more pain. I had these old keratosis that I would have to go in and get burnt off, frozen off, and they would keep coming back. And I was on these patches for maybe about 6 months before I noticed that I wasn't getting them anymore. They're not coming back. I had an old, pretty severe, chronic, candida, systemic candida, that she had me on, supplements and herbs and digestive aids, and it was quite severe. And it took, again, probably 6, 7 months, and it's totally gone.
So that was remarkable.
But then our son is really, like, we think, like a miracle, because he's 18 now. When he was 17, up until he was 17, he was exhausted all the time. he was not sleeping well, and she would have him on herbs that would help, but it would just keep it at bay. And he would have to come home from school and sleep. So he used all of his energy for mental. He was on like the debate team and on Science Olympiad and did quite well, but nothing physical. So we thought, well, why not try it on him? Let's just see. We had no expectations. Of course, again, he was 17, so it didn't take long for his results, maybe a month. He was out coming home and walking the dogs up and down and running them up the hill. And then he said, you know, I'm going to try out for the track team. I'm going to try out for track and field. Now, this kid is sleeping. He is completely buffed. He is now
Going to the gym and
going to the gym, working out. He's very now into his body as well as his mind, sleeping so well. And he comes in every morning and he says, making sure he has his patches so he can get them on. Because he knows. Oh, and then we did not know, because he did not know that you're supposed to be able to smell in your life. Well, his sleep and his ability to smell had been occluded, and he came in one day and he goes, oh my gosh, what is that fragrance? What's cooking? I didn't know. I've not smelled anything before. So it was his was just quite quick, quite miraculous.
he'd been congested his whole life, even since he was a baby, just chronic sinusitis, chronic, inflammation in his nose. So he doesn't sleep well. So that's the main reason he never did any sports.
Wow.
But now he's happy with his friends on the track team and working out at the gym. So we're happy for him.
Excellent.
And
Thank
we're happy
you.
for LifeWave. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I
We're
mean,
grateful.
thank you guys. I mean,
Our pleasure.
I know hearing all these testimonials, it's like mind blowing, right? Because it's never just one thing. Because
No.
when stem cells go into repair, the whole body benefits. There's imbalances, hormonal, and it's working on every single cell. And when apoptosis is happening daily, which you guys are very aware of, and all those cells are dying off, when you're creating new cells like this, it's going to, regenerate the body. So I know there's a lot of questions, but I want to get to these pictures and then we'll open it up. So thank you, Mary Elizabeth and Aura and Krista. This has been great.
Thank you. Right.
I know. So I am going to share my screen. Hopefully this is going to set up properly. And I am going to go through these relatively quickly because I pulled a whole bunch. And this is David Schmidt up here. This is topography, and I'm going to show you 4 that are brain related. The first one will be the beginning session. This is after 3 weeks, and this is 6 weeks. This is using the X39, 77-year-old woman. You see the red is the inflammation, and this is and coherence. So that's what this is measuring. This is 1. This is a 69-year-old man. This is a 67-year-old woman. And this is a 67-year-old man. Okay, now, and then I'm going to explain briefly all these other ones. So, of course, when anything's this effective, athletes are going to use it because, like Dr. Carter talked about, you feel stronger, you have quicker recovery. And so this is very important in the athletic field. And even if you're working out, I've noticed a 20% increase in my workout and weights. Now, before the X39, David had created an energy patch. And right here is Michael Phelps in 2008. There were 300 plus athletes that used the energy patch, and they broke records during that Olympics. This is a thermography that shows the inflammation reduction within 20 minutes. This is the tops, these are before and these are after. Now, this happened, a 200-pound wall dropped on this toe. And within 3 days, look at the healing. And this was using several of the patches, the X39 with a couple of the other ones. This is shingles. This man, they wanted to stitch his eye closed. They told him it was going to be months. In a week, he was done. This is an actual digital X-ray. Over here, where you see the red, it's showing you gum disease. This was taken a year later, and you see the black, it's healed. It's 99% gone.
Bimmy, where was the patch put on that one?
It was put behind the neck and below the belly. I'm going to talk about placement. I forgot to do that.
That's fine.
And it works on animals, like Mary Elizabeth was saying. This is a horse. Up top is obviously the inflammation, and then afterwards. This is another showing of that. Our animals love the patches. This is after 10 days. This is a cataract the dog had, and it's gone. Again, no medical claims here. This is another animal. This is before. This is after. The dog's fur was actually this color. It was aging, and its eye was cloudy. And you see the patches up here. You can actually put the patch on the dog's collar. It doesn't matter which way, or a cat. It doesn't matter which way, just so it's touching, or you can put it in their bed, under their mat, or on top of their mat. People do that as well. This is terrible, so, you know, as you can tell. And we have a lot of skin problems like this. This is before. This is a friend of mine. This is after. This took about 6 months, but isn't that incredible?
Yeah, wow.
This is radiation treatment. You can see she has these lumps here. This is but this is when she had it, and then this is what happened. And it took about 3 weeks for that to go away. And normally it was not like that. It took her much longer. Another hand, this person had had this for 10 years. She was a young person. Her parents took her everywhere, all over Europe, couldn't find anything that would make a difference. And this is after about 2 months. I don't have a more updated one, but that's the latest one I had. Us ladies love this. Creping in the neck area from January to July. Look at that.
Who's your surgeon? Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Look at this, 10 weeks. I mean, this is just the beginning, but 10 weeks.
Good.
Fountain of youth. This is Mandy. This is a whole year of youth, and you know, it's like having a facelift or something. She had other results too, but this was amazing. This for you guys. It can turn your hair darker again. This happens to ladies and men. It regrows hair. It helps to regrow hair. Let me change it. Helps to regrow hair because you're stimulating the genes and the stem cells. But you can see how he looks. His whole countenance is different. This is another before and after 6 weeks. You can see improvement starting. This is pretty gross. This is a skin cancer that was, you know, dug out. She's an older woman, esthetician. She didn't like this at all. After 21 days, it had completely closed up. This is 2 months. They were going to cut this top of this finger off because it was so severed and, the
No,
mother,
it's just in the back page.
the mother said no. And they put it on and used the X39, completely healed, completely.
Wow.
Another 1 month, the scar's almost gone, 99.9% gone. How many people have had knee surgery? Now this is the knee 2.5 years after the knee surgery. This on the other knee is 4 months after the knee surgery. Look at how the scar is going away.
Hmm.
Another one, this is 1 month, 5 weeks after the surgery, the bandages came off. This is pretty gross. This is a friend of mine. She cut herself really bad. You know, she was going to tear the skin off or something. The doctor, this naturopath told her, no, we put the patch on 2 weeks. She's done this before because she has a farm. She's baling hay and she just ripped her skin. And she said it usually takes 3 or 4 months. This was 2 weeks. Another healing in 7 days. Let's see. Yeah. This is in 63 days. You see this, how bad this is? There's no scar here. Whatever this was for, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Looks
This
like
is
a bone
after-
surgery.
Yeah, and look at how that's healed. And that was like 3 to 4 weeks, I believe. This, you know, there was a stitch up here. There were, you know, she got hit really hard, completely gone. 7 days. This is an 88-year-old woman, broken ribs, terrible bruising, 8 days later. Somebody at 88 does not heal like that.
Right.
This is a friend of mine. She has this disease. I didn't get the name. It has a certain name. Oh, there it is. You may know that. Xanthalamus, and the doctors told her only it's fatty deposits. They'd have to operate. And after 6 months, it was completely gone.
Mm.
Oops. Let me get that back up here. Oh, here. This is Parkinson's. You probably have seen this before. This is after, I think about a month. This is a before and after. About a year. He looks totally different. This is very interesting. This is a broken bone. You see right here.
Mhm.
Okay, the doctor said we got to operate, you know, put in another, already the person was hurt. Completely healed. This was 6 weeks. This is a friend of mine. She had this condition for over 15 years, went to all, she's a natural type person, tried all these things. This took about 2 months and she started seeing this kind of reduction. And the last one is Bell's palsy, which is an incredible turnaround.
Oh.
So I hope I blew your mind a little bit.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
You did, but I decided I'm too far gone.
So let me just answer the question of where to wear it. For the X39, David had to pick 2 places or several places to do the testing. So he did it around C7 and a couple of inches below the belly button. So you rotate the patch daily. However, you can put it anywhere. Anywhere there may be pain or a condition, but you definitely want to also hit these two places, but you can rotate it on a daily basis.
Mm.
And with the other patches, you heard this is Eon, and I had talked about carnosine with the telomeres. Glutathione increases 300%. Now, you know, when people go get IVs and everything, it goes in, it goes out, it doesn't stay in the body. This is really helps people recover from a lot of conditions because it's detoxing the body and building the immune system. And this is the X39, which Dr. Carter talked about. This is a sister patch to the X39. It helps with building bone mass, muscle strength, cognitive function, reducing belly fat, and also puts kind of like a Faraday cage around your body to protect you from EMFs.
Mm.
So Bimmy, the whole idea is that putting out different or the reflecting back different frequencies, is that the idea between the different patches?
It's different wavelengths. Your body, you know, what's coming from your body is always the same. What David has created in each patch is a different crystalline structure.
Mm.
And when it hits that,
Mhm.
you know, how he figured out how that wavelength goes in and what it hits is extraordinary.
Yeah, Faraday figured that out. Yeah, he led us on the path. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it all makes sense.
So
Very good.
I can open it up. So let me just say this, to get more information, the Start X39 will give you that. You can contact myself. I'm working with Dr. Carter. For those of you who want to try the patch, use it with your clients, I'm going to help support you on how to do that. If you want to write in my email, Healing Works Now, maybe I can do it at Gmail.
Yeah, and we put that in the
Okay.
notification as well.
Okay. Because I can answer more questions. We have a limited time here. I know I'm almost at the end, but it costs about $100 a month to use this. That's less than a cup of coffee a day per patch. So it's really a no-brainer. Because like Mary Elizabeth was sharing, that person came down off of all those, you know, monthly herbs and supplements and whatever else they're doing. People will be able to reduce a lot of their meds. Of course, they need to work with their doctor. We have people coming off of blood pressure meds all the time. It's just, we already have somebody who wants to join.
Okay.
Dr. Stark had a couple interesting questions. Number one,
Yes.
what causes them to deactivate over time? So you have to keep replacing them. And number two, can you use more than one type at a given time? And how would you locate them?
Great questions. It's a crystalline structure. So the body heat will eventually start to melt down that crystalline structure. So the effectiveness, the efficacy of the patch diminishes. So David says 12 hours on, 12 hours off, because what the body needs to do is to repair. When you're generating the stem cells, you know, the body's active, and then the body goes into repair when you take it off at night. And the body's repairing anyway at night.
Right.
And what was the other question?
Two different types of patches, where you locate them.
Yeah, you can wear all of these patches during the day. There's some patches you can wear at night. You only really need one X39. More is not better here. Be very clear, more is not better. I wear on a daily basis 5 during the day and 2 at night, because we have different ones. We have a whole sheet PDF that gives a brief explanation on what some of these patches are, and some are more for the skin. The Eon, which you heard talked about, is more for inflammation reduction. But here's the thing, the X39 has a blend of some of these other technologies. So we like to start people just on X39, see what your results is. We suggest at least a silver package. That gives you 3 sleeves. You can get 2 X39 and 1 X49, or we can customize it in another way, depending on what's going on. But the first month, you want to just be on X39. So you'll see the foundation with yourself, with your clients, so that then you'll know what to add in.
With these people with severe diseases, did any of them experience a side reaction like a Herxheimer's reaction at all?
That can happen. There can be a bit of a healing crisis. That's a great question. And in our follow-up, we know to look for that, because if people are very toxic or they're eliminating drugs that have been in their system, they may experience some detoxing, but it's nothing to be afraid of. We want you to continue because this is a good sign that you're getting it out of the body. So that's why follow-up is really important.
Dr. Carter's big on, GI detox and other things in concert with it might cause a herc. So
Absolutely.
and then Jeffrey asked about swelling.
Wait, I have one more thing to say.
Oh, sure.
There's something, no, it's called retracing. And retracing can happen, which means if they have an old injury that maybe is not bothering them, all of a sudden their shoulder starts hurting. We've had this with a lot of times with guys that were injured in high school. And then they remember that they had this injury, football, whatever, they fell on their head. And so it's actually releasing the trauma out of the cells, which is extraordinary. So people might have retracing, or it could get worse for a few days because it's lifting the trauma that's caught in the cellular tissue out. And again, we mitigate this when we're following up.
Excellent. Very
And
good.
did you have another question?
I'm not sure what's still.
Is it Jeffrey had a question? Who was that?
About the swelling. Which one would you recommend for
X39 and Eon. You have to wear X39 no matter what else you couple with it or whatever else other patches, because the X39 is the only one that really gives that deep systemic healing because of the stem cell activation.
Now, someone earlier asked about cancer because you're increasing immunity, autoimmune diseases. It seemed like the only contraindication was transplant surgery or something like that, or previously.
Yeah, the transplant.
Transplant. Similar to PEMF, by the way, curiously enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're stimulating the immune system, right?
Yeah.
What did you say? So the X40, so like for instance, with people who are EMF sensitive, so would the X49 help with that?
It could. I'm not going to say, we never make any claims. What we do know is what we've heard, which is all pretty much anecdotal. And then David has done testing, but just to be clear, we do not put that anywhere in our literature because we would get smashed.
Right, of course, yeah.
But you can do a muscle test, and I do this all the time. This is so cool. You hold your cell phone up, somebody calls you, do a muscle test and it goes weak. And then you put it down, you put the X49 on, wait a few seconds, do the same thing, and you'll be completely strong.
Okay.
How are people on this? You're probably on it for life, but would people who are trying to solve a problem be on it for life, or just then use it maybe prophylactically once they've gotten to where they want to be?
I answer that this way. You take vitamin C, you take vitamin D, you do certain things because it's good for you. If you're adding this into your regime and you have gotten rid of X, Y, and Z, why would you go off of it?
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, if you go off of it, your stem cells are going to stop. You will hold probably where you're at for a good while. But as the stem cells are not regenerating anymore,
Mhm.
then the body's going to go back to aging.
Mhm.
I mean, this is something that is an active system.
Now, see, a lot of these indications you showed are caused by one, terrain and germ theory put together. So, and Dr. Carter and I spend a lot of time in chronic infections. Has anybody done labs before and after, like the Parkinson's case and others? I mean, we saw the dental case, and obviously, if you're reversing gum disease, you have to
Mhm.
have either you're overwhelming the infection with better immunity, or you're having some sort of LL37 or some other antimicrobial peptide form. So has anybody done testing other than just that study on gum recession on infectious species and before and after?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Mary Elizabeth, have you seen anything? I don't.
No, I haven't, Mimi.
Michael,
That would be,
Michael,
that would be interesting to test though,
Yeah.
because obviously we can do a baseline, test for the various pathogens. And, 3 months later, 6 months later, whatever, then, repeat it and see if there's a decrease in those species. That would be pretty interesting.
Dr. Carter runs all the inflammatory markers along with very few that run regularly on whole populations, infectious things. But we're firm believers that the real pandemic out there is chronic disease caused by stealth infections in an environment that we've been set up to be weak. We've been set up for over 100 years to be weak in terms of host immunity, and that's why they exist.
Yeah, I mean, we've tested thousands of patients, especially through our corporate structure, and everybody has some measure of, one or more, Epstein-Barr virus, mycoplasma, chlamydia pneumoniae, Lyme, cytomegalovirus. The list goes on and on. But of course, these things don't.
Toxoplasma gondii, Michael.
Right. Yeah, they don't generally cause, acute symptoms. Fever, chills, classic increase in white count. So people are walking around with these subacute infections, and they really don't know it. But of course, they contribute to a whole host of various disease syndromes. And again, that was one of the main premises of the book that Dr. Lewis and Dr. Tremp wrote, as a cause for eye diseases, as a cause for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, that is not appreciated by traditional doctors. And when you treat those, then, if in fact that's the main cause, then you get resolution of those symptoms and the disease process.
Maybe we have a tradition. We have Dr. Harshfield come in and land the plane. He landed the bus last week, but I think this is more like a plane. This is more like a 747 because he's so expert in this area as well.
Well,
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I want to thank you for having us on today. And I know there were a lot of questions that didn't get answered. So, we can do something about that at another time, or people can write to me or, email me.
If you're willing to come back and do just a Q&A at some point, we'd be delighted to have that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I know we'll publish this video, people will watch it, and then questions will arise. So if you're willing to do that, that'd be fabulous. So I think it's very interesting. And with that,
yeah, Jody will reach out to you to be able to schedule you for the, maybe do it on a Tuesday. So that'll be good. So we'll just kind of coordinate that.
excellent.
Dr. Harshfield?
thank you. I'm kind of surprised that we haven't talked about this earlier. Because we've known about it for a long time. And thank you, Ms. Casey, that was great. This is another example of using a universal antidote. In other words, that what we're trying to do is get well, and we're going to have all sorts of things happen to us: toxins, infection, injury, trauma, and rather than try to have a drug for a problem. This is just making the body stronger. It's a great way to do it. The pericytes you're talking about, the stem cells, live around, guess where? Capillaries.
Mhm.
And so when this energy is released in that interstitial space at the base of the neck or underneath the umbilicus, the belly button, these pericytes go, okay, here I am. What do I need to do? And they start to travel around the body and they kind of surveil. But again, look at the things you're treating. Those beautiful cases and how fast the skin lesions heal and change, because your skin's your largest organ by volume, technically. It's your spacesuit. If you got to hold your spacesuit, life is no fun. And these little patches are so easy to use if you'll just remember to do them and take them off.
Right.
Don't ask me why I know this. You can't sleep with these things on the back. You wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, I want to run a 26K. Wait a minute, take the patch off. You got to give your body, you can't run 24/7. But at any rate, again, thank you. And again, this is a very simple universal antidote for a lot of issues that helps put what? Energy in the body. Voltage is healing. Thank you. Thank you.
Fabulous.
Awesome.
All righty, Michael, thank you very much for bringing me on, and your testimonials, Mary and Anna, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Very
Extraordinary.
valuable.
Yeah.
And Krista too, and her
Yeah.
family.
Oh, yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Thank you. All right.
Will she be on Tuesday night?
Thank you, everybody.